Running out of time, President Trump insists on money for a new border wall to avoid a government shutdown. A slow, inadequate response. Local government faces new criticism over how it handled the hepatitis outbreak.
I liked what he stood on. I know that there's some problems there, or alleged problems, but we're still in this country innocent until proven guilty.
As he faces trial, local Republicans still support Congressman Duncan Hunter. How was he able to win re-election despite a national trend towards Democrats?
If you want the home to be welcoming, you have to have all those fragrance.
And cooking up a Christmas feast. Chef Bernard shares some of his holiday favorites at the Marine Room. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening, and thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. San Diego leaders are facing new criticism for how they handled last year's hepatitis outbreak. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman has details on how the response fell short, according to a new state report.
In May, State Assemblyman Todd Gloria called for an audit to examine the city and county's response to the hepatitis A outbreak. Now it's completed, and the report used the F word, fail, 12 times.
There's no way to soft pedal this. 20 people died. Over 500 people got sick. It is clear from the auditor's nonpartisan, independent review is that months went by without sufficient action.
The County of San Diego says it first identified the Hep A outbreak in March of 2017. The audit found an email from one of the county's medical directors in April of 2017 saying that the outbreak could become one of the worst in the country since the introduction of the Hep A vaccine. Still, the audit found the county did not ramp up vaccination efforts until September and October, 6 months after the outbreak was discovered.
There probably is a culture change issue that has to be there that understands that we have to have a social safety net here in the county, that the most vulnerable are not to be ignored, but they're to be responded to because it has broader implications.
The audit says the county did not accelerate vaccination efforts because the county lacked a sense of urgency. Remember seeing portable bathrooms, hand washing stations, and crews bleaching streets? The audit found the county and the city of San Diego discussed those ideas in June of 2017, but neither began fully implementing the sanitation efforts until that September. The county's public health officer had legal authority to direct the city to implement those sanitation efforts, but the audit found the county was not aware of that. Instead, the county wanted to work with the city first instead of forcing it to comply. The audit also found the county did not provide enough information to the city of San Diego about the outbreak, which led to the city not recognizing the seriousness of it. Around the time when Gloria called for the audit, the county released its after-action report on the Hep A outbreak. Both it and the audit found the county needs to come up with a better system of notifying local governments about the severity of outbreaks in the future. The audit also recommends the county update its emergency operations plan in the event of a future outbreak. In response to the audit's publishing, the county called the Hep A outbreak unprecedented, and any event of this magnitude should be reviewed in hindsight. But the county has accepted the state auditor's recommendations. The audit also recommends that the city of San Diego should review its actions related to the outbreak before the local health emergency was declared in September of 2017. The city says it agrees with the recommendations too. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
Defense Secretary James Mattis is the latest Trump cabinet member to announce his resignation. Secretary Mattis sent a letter to President Trump earlier today to announce his decision. In the letter, he says the president has a right to have a Secretary of Defense whose views better align with the president's. Mattis and Trump have disagreed on military issues, including this week's decision to pull troops out of Syria. Mattis will leave his position in February. Congress and the president have less than 3 days to avoid a government shutdown. The Senate has passed a spending bill, but the president says he won't support it. The president insisted today that any compromise reached by Congress must include $5 billion for a new border wall. Republican leaders in the House say they'll try to add border wall money to the Senate bill. It's unclear when the votes would take place or if the bill would pass.
So what we're going to do is go back to the House and work with our members. We want to keep the government open, but we also want to see an agreement that protects the border. We have very serious concerns about securing our border.
The president said what the Senate sent over is just kicking the can down the road. We want to solve this problem.
The Trump administration will no longer allow asylum seekers to stay in the U.S. as their cases play out. The Department of Homeland Security announced today that asylum seekers will have to stay in Mexico. The Mexican government says it will cooperate with the policy change. Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen testified before Congress today. At one point, the issue of family separation led to this heated exchange.
Shame on everybody that separates children and allows them to stay at the other side of the border, fearing death, fearing hunger, fearing sickness. Shame on us for wearing our badge of Christianity during Christmas and allow the secretary to come here and lie. Thank you.
Time of the gentleman has expired. If the secretary would care to respond to any of that.
Only then to say that calling me a liar are fighting words. I'm not a liar. We've never had a policy for family separation. I'm happy to walk the gentleman through it again. A policy of family separation would mean that any family that I encountered in the interior, I would separate. It would mean that any family that I found at a port of entry, I would separate. It would mean that every single family that I found illegally crossing, we would separate. We did none of those. What we did do is uphold the laws that Congress has passed, and we prosecuted those who choose to come here illegally.
PBS NewsHour will have more on the new asylum policy and the chance of a government shutdown over funding the border wall. It airs tonight here on KPBS at 7. There's a political battle brewing in National City over how to fill a vacancy on the city council. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says progressives are hoping for a new majority.
The open seat belonged to former city councilwoman Alejandra Sotelo Solis, who was elected mayor last month. She and one other colleague wanted to appoint Jose Rodriguez to the seat, rather than call a special election next year. Rodriguez is a fellow progressive who narrowly lost his bid for council last month. Here's Councilwoman Mona Rios.
We cannot afford to spend over $400,000 on an election that we already know the outcome of that election. Jose has proven that with the results that he got in this election.
The other two council members said no. Ultimately, the council decided to take applications for the vacancy and conduct interviews with candidates in late January. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Nationally, Democrats picked up 40 seats in the House of Representatives, but couldn't defeat Congressman Duncan Hunter. KPBS reporter Priya Sridhar takes a closer look at his support in East County, even as he faces a criminal trial.
Lakeside sits in the heart of the 50th Congressional District. This has been Duncan Hunter country for almost 4 decades, first with Duncan Hunter Sr., who was then succeeded by his son. Some Lakeside residents like Savannah Ledbetter say the Hunters are a political dynasty here.
I feel like people just remember his father and what a positive force that he was, and that Duncan Hunter is now riding on the legacy of his father.
Good morning, everybody.
Hunter, a Republican, was reelected despite a federal indictment accusing him and his wife of misusing approximately $250,000 of campaign money on lavish dinners, trips, and family vacations. But the victory wasn't easy. Hunter, who previously won his elections with double-digit margins, this time beat his opponent by 4 points.
He won because tribal politics is more important than anything else in modern America. You vote for your party based on the R or the D. Doesn't matter anything else because your crook is better than their evil person.
Hunter's opponent was 29-year-old Democrat Amar Campa-Najjar. A former Obama staffer and East County native, Campa-Najjar campaigned on the promise to work with politicians on both sides of the aisle.
Relieved that the campaign's over and just really proud of what we achieved together. You know, about 130,000 people voted for me this election. That's 3 times as many as the last challenger to Duncan Hunter.
The campaign was a fierce one with attack ads from both sides.
Duncan Hunter Jr. stealing campaign funds for lavish vacations and gifts, defrauding wounded warriors, insulting our military. Duncan Hunter Jr. It's more than unethical and illegal. He's an embarrassment.
Amar Kapanajjar is working to infiltrate Congress. He's used 3 different names to hide his family's ties to terrorism. His grandfather masterminded the Munich Olympic massacre. His father said they deserved to die.
Hunter's district chief of staff, Michael Harrison, says the indictment was a major factor in the narrow finish.
Well, you have some overlying issues in terms of the Department of Justice investigation into his campaign issues. He's addressed those. He's cooperated. It's working its way through the legal process, and that obviously had an adverse effect.
Back in Lakeside, many voters say that despite the charges, they felt loyalty toward Hunter.
He might have got caught in borrowing some money. It's money he's supposed to spend on his campaign, but there's a lot of other congressmen doing the same thing, but somebody got mad at him and he got turned in.
I liked what he stood on. I know that there's some problems there, or alleged problems, but we're still in this country innocent until proven guilty. So until they prove that he's guilty, and I know it doesn't look good, but he's still innocent. That's why I went with him.
Luna says that ultimately the 50th congressional district is still one of the reddest in the state.
If you look at San Diego, there's been a general purpling from the coast to the mountains. Now the city is more Democratic. The county's becoming more Democratic. East County will probably make that turn, but it'll probably take another 10 years.
Since the indictment, Hunter has had to step down from the House committees he served on, but his chief of staff says his legal issues won't distract him from fulfilling his duties.
I mean, there's still a number of things that he'll be able to do as a sitting member of Congress. He can introduce legislation. He can sign on to letters. We can bring attention to the issues that we think deserve that attention.
He says Hunter has no plans of stepping down. They expect he will be acquitted on the charges and reelected to another term in 2020.
Scumbag, Duncan!
Priya Sridhar, KPBS News.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, Secretary of Defense James Mattis resigns, citing a difference in views with the president. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Starting next month, Californians will be allowed to rely on others to pay their rent. The new law requires landlords to accept rent paid by third parties. That includes relatives, nonprofits, churches, and other groups.
We had a few landlords who really were unscrupulous in refusing rent from third-party people. Really, we thought it was a way to evict people. We thought it didn't really make a lot of sense when you have so many homeless people on the street. When someone is offering to pay their rent, we don't know why you wouldn't accept it. So with this one bill, it's just one of many ways to attack the housing problem, make sure that people can stay in their homes, people can get help paying the rent that they need, and also ensure that this is one way to really stop homelessness before it happens.
A national homeless count released this week shows the number of homeless people in San Diego dropped this year. San Diego ranked 4th among U.S. cities with the largest homeless populations. This year, law enforcement agencies are collecting data on people they stop. It's part of a state law focused on racial profiling. KPBS reporter Taryn Minto has details on what it's costing San Diego police to do this work.
The department received $200,000 from the city last year to implement the Racial and Identity Profiling Act, or RIPA. Lieutenant Jeff Jordan says the money was going to be used to develop data collection tools, but instead, San Diego police got a free application from the Sheriff's Department.
So those costs didn't occur. We didn't need to spend much of that money. It was very minimal, exactly.
Jordan says it did spend about $6,000 on licenses to use some mobile devices to collect data, and the remaining money was returned to the city's general fund. Still, Jordan says the law means paying officers for more time filling out forms and less time policing. He says it takes minutes to document the info, but that adds up when the department is conducting 15,000 stops a month.
You multiply that out in kind of terms of out-of-service time and hourly cost, it goes into hundreds of thousands of dollars.
He says the department may also have future RIPA-related costs, such as infrastructure updates, and that it will seek reimbursement from the state. Taryn Mento, KPBS News.
Last 6 hours on the satellite and radar showing moisture to our north. We're getting some clouds trying to make its way into Southern California, but overall our day has been on the dry and some sun also peeking on through. Now, as we talk about our marine forecast, we are still under a high surf advisory here across the coast and towards San Diego County. Waves running up to 5 to 8 feet and even sometimes higher than that. Now, we will see this expire into tomorrow, but we will be expecting a high tide, and that will lead to some coastal flooding. As for tonight, in terms of our temperatures, we're cooling down to 46 in Oceanside, 45 in Borrego Springs, and 44 in Mount Laguna. And to San Diego, cooling down to 51 with increasing clouds here. So we're saying goodbye to lots of sunshine and clear nights. And that's because we're going to have a disturbance, as we saw to the north of us. That's going to swing some moisture nearby, but overall dry and still on the mild side here across the southwest. Changes will be coming in our temperatures. We're not going to be extremely warm or above average as we trend into your extended forecast. 75 in Borrego Springs, 60 in Mount Laguna, and 66 in Oceanside for your Friday, topping off at 67 in San Diego with sun and clouds mixing. As we head into this weekend, excited getting those last-minute holiday gifts. We are looking at a pretty dry forecast. Rain still remains to our north, as well as some mixing and snow out towards the Pac Northwest. But here in Southern California, your Saturday, partial sunshine at the coast with a high of 66, remaining in the mid to upper 60s through the early week. And then we could be talking about some possible showers on Tuesday. So that is also going to be seen, that shower possibility into the inland areas as well. Right now, super low, but we got to keep it in mind since it is a holiday. We will be in the 70s Friday, Saturday, and Sunday inland, and then heading into the 60s as we head into your Tuesday, into the mountains. 60 for Friday, then cooling down into the mid to upper 50s as we head into your weekend and early week. Dry conditions through your Saturday and Sunday here across the deserts. Reporting for KPBS News, I'm your meteorologist, Dajia Swad. Back to you.
For many people, the holidays are a time to connect with family, often while eating yummy food. Tonight, we have a special treat. Chef Bernard, the executive chef at the Marine Room in La Jolla, demonstrates recipes sure to be a hit among guests without keeping the host strapped to the kitchen. So I'm joined now by Chef Bernard. We are inside his kitchen at the Marine Room in La Jolla, and he is going to teach us how to make an ideal holiday dish that he promises even I can figure out.
So you can do it. I'm telling you, you can do it. I kept it very simple.
Okay, great.
Ingredients very easy to source. So like this, you don't have to stress during the holiday season. What about that? Here you have truffles, but those are not chocolate truffles. Those are grape and blue cheese truffles. So what you want to do is you take your grape, you wrap it with the blue cheese, and then you just roll it. So something like this. I'm just going to do it right now. Check this out. Just cover it really good. So if you have kids at the house and you want them to play a little bit with their food, that's a great way to do it. You roll it, and you roll it again. And look at this. This is a nice little truffle. But this is actually walnuts.
Walnuts, awesome.
Yes. And you know, walnut, blue cheese, and all that goes really, really well together. So then I prepared something really cool. So this is a shrimp and andouille lollipop. So you buy your shrimp already cooked if you want to, like I just did, and your favorite sausage. A little bit of salt and pepper and some fresh herbs. So what you want to do is a little bit of olive oil. Then you just take those shrimp and you just roast them. So it's going to cook really, really quickly. Check this out. No, you're going to sear it. It's going to caramelize. So it'll take about 1 minute on each side. So hot oil, a little bit more over here with the fresh herbs. There's about now 30 seconds, let's say. You just flip them around. And look at this. So you can do it on the grill if you want to, but I kind of like to do it in the pan because it just marries all the flavors. A little bit of fresh parsley. So we make a little aioli, which is a garlic mayo with some ancho chile. So you can do it as spicy as you want, as great as you want. And you take those little guys and you have them going around, and voila. So this is easy appetizers.
Now, Chef, tell us about the next course, which is our main course.
Rack of lamb. So everybody gets very nervous about rack of lamb, but rack of lamb is very easy. The thing that you want to do is you make sure that you roast your rack of lamb really well. See, nice and golden brown. And then you, I would say, cook it for about 10 minutes at 375 degrees for medium rare. So when you take it out of the oven, what will happen is you check. It's going to be like, no, it's really too raw. But what we call the resting period will happen. So when you rest your lamb, the heat continues to go through, the juices really spread evenly, and it continues to cook on itself. A lot of people like their lamb to be cooked all the way through, but you don't have all the flavor. Sear it on the side, and then I'm going to take some mustard, and I love a little bit of mustard on the lamb. It is just whole grain mustard with a little bit of red wine. And then what I'll do is I'll put some red walnuts. Yes, I like walnuts, it's the season. Red walnuts are from California only. If you want the home to be welcoming, you have to have all those fragrance who are coming in, and with friends are coming, families coming in, and go, that's where I want to be. Now, talking about where I want to be, this is where I would love to be, because this is so delicious. And those are all root vegetables. You have your potatoes, you have your heirloom carrots, and then we put them in the oven. So this will go like right here. Ooh, this oven, that smells so good. All right, here it is. Our rack of lamb is ready. Oh yeah, this is perfect. You can put it right over here. You can put one over here. The second one right here. And what you want to do is you want to interlock the bones. See the interlock itself? Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And we grab the veggies. And I transfer the vegetables and arrange the vegetables all around the rack of lamb itself.
So everything smells delicious and it looks beautiful. But I know you are known for your specialty desserts. So what about desserts?
Le dessert. Et voilà. This is our persimmon upside down cake.
Thank you so much, Chef Bernard.
My pleasure.
If you are not brave enough to try these recipes at home, although they were very approachable and pretty easy, you can make a reservation here at the Marine Room in La Jolla. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
We have all of those recipes available online at kpbs.org. And this is a special weekend for Christmas productions around San Diego. KPBS arts editor Nina Guerin has details on several holiday-themed shows.
Let's get started with Noel, Noel, a concert of Christmas music put on by the San Diego Symphony. Together with the San Diego Master Chorale and the San Diego Children's Choir, you'll hear traditional songs like Carol of the Bells, Silent Night, and Sleigh Ride. The popular music event also features modern favorites by Broadway singer Briona Marie Parham. Noel, Noel is a family-friendly concert that also features festive decorations, an audience sing-along, and a visit from Santa himself. Nutcracker season is also winding down, but not before a visit from the Moscow Ballet and its Great Russian Nutcracker. Though the music is familiar, this particular story varies. Instead of going to the land of sweets, the dancers go to the land of peace and harmony. Instead of a teenage Clara, there's an adult Masha, who maneuvers the magical land without the help of a sugar plum fairy. Most notable about the Great Russian Nutcracker is the Dove of Peace that opens the second act. It's a man and a woman formed together to look like a bird, adding touches of acrobatics to the ballet routine. Finally, traditionalists can have a Victorian Christmas experience with Signet Theatre's 5th annual staging of A Christmas Carol. Based on Charles Dickens' classic tale, the story follows the miserly Ebenezer Scrooge as he's visited by ghosts of the past, present, and future. What's unique about this show is that it's genuinely very spooky. There are scary puppets, you hear chains rattling, and of course there's a graveyard scene. There's also a lot of music, from festive Christmas carols to ominous melodies, all to illustrate the point that the spirit of the holidays can turn even the nastiest crank into a generous soul. For KPBS Arts, I'm Nina Guerin.
You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.